All right, guys, we are back. Fwiz, it's time to talk complexity.
America's favorite team.
Number one.
Number one.
Number one.
Only one of those things are true.
Yes. Might be the number one part.
Most likely is the number one part.
All right, these guys have been on a tear.
That is a fact.
These guys have been crushing everyone.
Yes.
But not many people know this core three has been around for quite a while. Here's a look at the current lineup: Aches, Crim6, TP, and Karma.
And really the duo of Aches and TP go back now for quite some time. You get in Black Ops 1. So, we talk about the core three with Crim6, Aches, and TP in there, and you obviously had Clayster had a really good run of success. Karma got plugged into it as well, and they continue to succeed. But there's really something to say about Aches and TP as a duo.
Yeah, like Modern Warfare 2 they were playing together, right?
Actually, you're right. I said Black Ops 1, MW2 they were playing together, and man, that brings me back.
Well, you weren't wrong.
Yeah, I wasn't wrong. That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Well, since their conception under complexity, they have not finished outside of the top 4 at any major tournament.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like final boss numbers back in the day.
Yeah, I think when they did finish outside of top 2, it was when Too Quick was on the team. Like after they got Clayster on the squad, that's really where things, they made a run starting with Frag Cup there, and they never looked back after that. Yeah, that was with Fears at the time. They had Fears and Too Quick in there. And like I said, Too Quick and those 4 finishes, COD Champs last year and the Winter Champs. And then after COD Champs, I believe, is when they made the roster change.
Yeah, after finishing 4th with Too Quick, remember, this went all the way to round 11, game 5 versus Optic Gaming for top 3.
That's right.
At COD Champs. That was with Too Quick. Unfortunately, they fell short. Scumpy had a huge 3-piece, and Optic Gaming, they moved on. Complexity, they felt like they needed to make a roster change.
Yeah, Too Quick kind of sketched on them, actually. Like, I remember it being a big ordeal. Jason Lake was talking about you don't just break contracts. Too Quick just kind of was like, I'm done with it here. And actually, that ended up being like a blessing in disguise for Complexity once Too Quick left, because it gave them the opportunity to have a free player off of, contractually from the Complexity squad, and they never looked back after that.
And they went after someone that I think may have been the best pickup in Call of Duty history.
Yeah.
Really finding Clayster. Clayster, of course, leading Unite Gaming at MLG's first Black Ops 2 event, playing with basically Huddle, Slack, the Young Guns. And Clayster, he's always been such a monster AR. Really, I think this is when Complexity started their dynasty. After picking up that extra slaying power from Clayster,
and hype. He was the hype that they needed too.
Oh, for sure.
He really pumped that team up and got them stoked. And this is when Clayster joins the roster, man. It was just first, and then they had finished the second there. I mean, they took the Spring Champs. They took Gfinity 1. They grabbed that UMG Atlanta event. And then you were there casting PAX Prime. That was a nail-biter, right?
Yeah, Embos, Ricky, Parasite, and Nameless. Unite Gaming at the time. One of just 3 teams now to beat Complexity. Here you see Embos and his old crew on Unite. Ricky still with Embos now on Optic Gaming. Nameless and Parasite, interestingly enough, now on Envy. But after those first 4 tournaments, it didn't stop there. So 4 straight finals for Complexity after picking up Clayster. From there, the hot streak went on for another 4 tournaments. This time, we saw Gfinity 2. The MLG Fall Invitational 2013. They went over to France, winning ESWC in their first gold medal over at the French tournament before returning and facing a second place finish. Actually, that's supposed to be first. Come on, Jake. That is a first place finish at MLG Columbus, our first tournament in Ghost. So They stayed perfect for the remainder of Black Ops 2. They take the first tournament in Ghost. And Fwiz, really, since Ghost, no one has been able to challenge Complexity.
They are undoubtedly the best Call of Duty team in the world. They've held that title now for a while. There's no doubt that Aches likes to make sure that he shares that with everybody. There's them actually hoisting that trophy that you were just talking about. Clayster being on that squad. They were living it up there. It's all been nothing but good times for those guys, no doubt about it.
Now, after that tournament, despite getting first place, Complexity pulled off arguably the most ridiculous roster move we've ever seen.
Yeah.
You win with a teammate, but you drop him for Karma. And a lot of people were questioning this move and whether it would bite Complexity in the butt. And at the very first tournament, UMG Philly We saw FaZe go up 2-0 over compLexity, and everyone thought this was going to be the fall of Cole.
Yeah, this was it was a ballsy move by them because they didn't gel like from a personality outside of the game. Clayster kind of was oil on water with that squad there, and they didn't gel together. So looking to make a long-term play, they actually tried to get Scumpy. And they made a poach for Scumpy, who did not leave, who ended up leaving Optic and going Envy, and people questioned Scumpy at the time, like, why are you going to leave Optic to go to Envy when you had a chance to go to compLexity?
Right.
So they weren't able to get Scumpy, so they go and get Karma, who was arguably the best Black Ops 2 player. He kind of fit in from a personality standpoint more with this team, and they did end up going and winning UMG Philadelphia. So it kind of put the haters to rest about this change because they were still winning. And right, I think Aches at the time said it's about continuing to win long term even after making this change. Now they go to the US champs and they finish second, which was, where people were like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have made that change, right? But since then, with Karma on the roster, they've continued to win. They won Call of Duty champs, they won the MLG Season 1 playoffs, they just won this past weekend. So the compLexity Dynasty has continued to go on and on as they win these trophies left and right.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. So we mentioned Unite Gaming, able to beat them in a tournament. That was at PAX Prime. At the U.S. Championships, it was strictly business. But all other tournaments, it was compLexity, hoisting the trophy at the end of the event. And here you see them with the biggest trophy of all, the the Call of Duty World Championship, and that $400,000
and the ring
check. And, of course, the ghost ring.
I love the ring.
So let's go back and just count these. You ready? Since Call of Duty Championships for Black Ops 2, first place, MLG Spring Championship. First place, Gfinity 1. First place, UMG Atlanta. Second place at PAX. First place at Gfinity 2. First place at Fall Invitational. First place at ESWC. First place at the Fall Championships for Ghost, the first tournament there. First at COD Champs. Second at the US Champs. And then they win MLG Season 1, and now Niagara.
And now think about it. After all of this, a pretty big move that happens in the space here that they just announced is that Evil Geniuses have acquired the compLexity team. They bought from compLexity that squad. So this team will now be playing under one of the longest and oldest brands in esports, Evil Geniuses, as a team. So Aches, TP, Karma, and Crimsix will now be playing under Evil Geniuses and not compLexity moving forward, which is crazy, right? Crazy.
No more black and red for Cole.
They're throwing on the navy blue now. There's another boys in blue in town now.
Wow, Evil Geniuses picking up compLexity.
Into the Call of Duty space. I think it's a big
EG has
thing.
always kind of been the villains in my mind. When
Yeah,
you look
they
at
live up to that name.
StarCraft, you had Idra playing for EG.
Yeah.
You had a lot of guys, very vocal guys on that team. Not always the fan favorites.
Yeah, Alex Garfield, the owner of Evil Geniuses, is a very polarizing individual, and he has kind of he surrounded himself with players that are very talented and can be controversial at times. And I can see why he likes Aches and this squad, no doubt about it.
They're the #1 team in the game right now. They're considered the best villain in esports, if you ask me. Aches probably that leading villain role.
He will do really well in an EG outfit, no doubt about it.
Wow, that's
very big news coming out the esports world there today. So congratulations, obviously, to Evil Geniuses and to that squad on their new team change, and we'll see what this new team change will bring for them, if they'll continue their success or. Who knows, man? It's either going to be a blessing or a curse. We'll find out.
I just had to recount to make sure I was 100% correct on this. They have gone to the last 13 grand finals. They have never been outside of the grand finals since Black Ops 2
That's some
World
final
Champs.
boss stuff, isn't it?
That is absolutely ridiculous. This is a true dynasty in Call of Duty. compLexity's name is over, but they won 11 tournaments under that title. Now they start as Evil Geniuses. Can the streak continue, Fliz? X Games, really the first major competition for them. That's coming up June 4th through the 6th. And
we're going to have to make some graphic updates, aren't we, man?
For sure, for tomorrow's show. And probably for the next time
Somebody's going to be working late tonight. Thanks, EG.
So the question is, do you think compLexity walks away with the gold? If they play like they did at UGC Niagara, do they walk home?
I think
first
Optic
place?
Nation's going to win X Games.
You feeling it?
I do. Yeah, crazy, right? I know.
The team
I
that
really
lost
do.
to Fuse in the first round.
I really do. And you know why? It kind of makes me mad because I won't be able to make fun of Embos anymore and pick on him. But I do. I think Optic Nation's going to win it. I really do.
Wow.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Fuzz is calling it.
And yeah. It might be the start of the EG curse, man.
I'm calling Evil Genius to win this tournament. This squad
Safe
has
pick,
Crim 6.
safe pick.
They have Crim 6 on the team.
He's not a person. Yeah, he's not. Honestly, Crim 6 is my favorite player in Call of Duty just because some of the stuff that he does is just like remarkable to watch. You know, he really is a very entertaining player to watch as far as his gun skill, maybe not from an entertainment personality standpoint. But yeah, the kid's phenomenal. I'm not sure there'll ever be a Call of Duty player quite like him.
Well, you know, EG actually, I had a few conversations back at the first tournament for Black Ops 2. They were interested in getting a Call of Duty team. Now it looks like a year later they're ready to invest. They have picked up the #1 squad, and I guarantee that was not a cheap price.
No, it was not.
Congratulations to both organizations, the players and, of course, the org.
Yeah, Garfield is a smart guy in the esports. And if you're not really familiar behind the esports scene, he's a very smart man, and it's going to be interesting to see another very respectable organization enter in the Call of Duty scene. If you're a Call of Duty fan, it really validates Call of Duty as an esports title as well, so I do like that move.
All right, so compLexity, the reigning champs. Here's some fun facts. In the last, 6 tournaments, they have gone undefeated in a single game type. At MLG Columbus, they went undefeated in Search and Destroy. Did not drop a single search the entire tournament. UMG Philly didn't drop a single blitz.
Yep.
Call of Duty Championships, not a single domination. And Fwiz, here's the last 3. Season 1 playoffs at PAX, undefeated in Search. Niagara, undefeated in Blitz. X Games, can they be undefeated in domination and keep the streak alive?
Gosh, that's crazy. I don't know how you do that. I'm saying no, but that's incredible that they've been able to do that. And really, Search, they kind of said, is not one of their strongest game modes. So to say it's not one of your stronger game modes, but yet, 2 events they went undefeated in it? Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, twice with Search.
Blitz is one thing, right? Because it's one game mode. You
Yep.
play it once, right? So it's not the craziest thing. But to hear domination or Search is insane to me.
That is insane. All right, guys, we're heading to commercial break. When we come back, sounds like Aches might be available to join us to talk about his new squad and his thoughts on UGC Niagara. And what else does he think about the other pro players competing currently for his title? We'll be right back.